All right, good morning, class. Today, we're going to be talking about the rise and fall of Joan of Arc. Now, if you did not get the packet for this, that's okay. You can use a lined sheet of paper, and you can do the notes with that, answer the questions on that, and the warm up as well. Um, But before we really begin, I would like to apologize if you hear some noise in the background, if you hear some things going on to the side. I'm recording this video in another room, so the noises are a lot louder. So I do apologize for that. Um, but other than that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's your warm-up picture. Now, again, just like before, the warm-up has two questions. First off, what do you see? So analyze the picture, go through it, make a list of things you see. Now the second thing you need to do is basically, now that you've seen it, you analyzed it, you broke it down, what's going on? What do you think this artist is trying to say? Okay, what do you think is happening in this particular picture? So go ahead and write that out. And again, remember, this is a video, so you can pause, take your time writing it, looking at the picture, things like that. Okay, so always remember that. You can always pause this or go back. Okay, okay. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about Joan of Arc. The story of Joan of Arc is very, very interesting. The thing is, she was born on January 6th, 1412, in France. The thing is, she was very unique in the sense that she never learned to read or write. Her family was very religious, particularly her mother. Just loved the church, loved the teachings and things like that. Um, was very devoted, very, very, very devoted. Um, Now, the thing is, she was born during the time of the Hundred Years' War, and that was a fight between England and France. So what ended up happening is that the English were pushing the French to the side, basically. They were whooping them left and right. Um, Henry VI basically ruled a large part of France, and the king basically, in a sense, had to kind of step down as a sense. He was still the king, technically, but he didn't rule a majority of France. Um, so the thing is, Joan of Arc, at the age of 13, she hears these voices, and she believes that they are the voice of God. And she strongly believes that these messages from God are telling her what to do. Um, and the message was for her basically to save France and to get rid of its enemies. And on top of that, to place the rightful king, which would be Charles VII, as the rightful king of uh, France. Now, here's the thing. Joan of Arc never really had her picture taken because there was no pictures taken. They just have a description of her, you know. So if you look on the picture to your right, that's, basically how they says she looked like. And as this lecture goes on, you'll see different pictures of her and how they depict her in different ways. Okay, so that's one thing of her right there. Okay, all right. So now when Joan um, ends up basically trying to see the king, right, Charles VII, she's trying to tell him, hey, I'm a messenger of God. He's talking to me. He's telling me this stuff. Um, and the thing is, she basically had to prove herself, and she does. If you ever have a chance to watch the movie The Messenger, it's a pretty good movie. They do a pretty interesting job of um, how they kind of put her through a little trial to see if she can find out who the real king is. The thing is, basically, she told him that he would be crowned in the city of Reims, and that that's sort of the traditional site of where the kings were crowned, their ceremony, things like that. Actually, it's Reims. So yeah. Now the thing is, there was this prophecy that a virgin girl would basically save France, and lo and behold, here is this young girl, uh, a virgin girl from France, who's basically says, "I'm a messenger of God, and I am going to save the country and put the rightful king on top, um, and kick out the English." So people are really starting to get interested, like, hey, maybe this might be true, you know. So on May 1428, she gathered a band of followers. Now the thing is, she ends up cutting her hair. Now later on, you'll find out that that's a big no-no. Girls did not do that. Girls did not do that. Dress in guys' clothes. Basically, girls were girls, and they made sure that guys were guys. And if you did one or the other, that was a huge, huge no-no back in the day. Okay. And the reason, though, she did this was so she could make the 11-day journey to. I know I'm going to kill this name. I know it has a French name, but I call it Chinon. I'm sure it has a Chinon. I probably killed it. All right. Um, Now, the thing is, in March 1429, she sets on Orleans in white armor and a white horse, and she has this white flag. All right, and that was her call sign, basically. Um, Now, this girl did not want violence, but she sent a message to the English telling them, "Hey guys, you need to get out," and they refused. All right. Um, so she tried peaceful terms, but that didn't work. Okay. So you have to remember, at this time, Joan of Arc is still a teenager, like 13, 14 years old. Okay. She led several assaults and forced the English to retreat across the river. Um, Now, this is at Orleans, okay? Uh, and this girl, a virgin girl, basically helped beat one of the biggest, baddest armies in the known world. This was huge, so word spread like wildfire just everywhere that this girl did this. Now, on July 1429, Charles VII was crowned as King of France. The thing is, Joan fulfilled part of the prophecy that she was going to make sure he was crowned king. The other part of the prophecy said that uh, she would help get rid of their enemies, right? Which was England. The thing is, England still had a presence in France. So Joan's like, no, we gotta push the English all the way back to England, all right, across the English Channel back to their home. So she wanted to retake Paris. But the thing is, the new king, Charles VII, was like, nah. And some of his advisors were like, you know what, she's becoming too powerful. Because here's the thing, think of it like this: you have Charles here, the new formed king, all right? And then you have Joan of Arc, the girl who God talks to. She helped him get to where he's at. God is apparently on her side. Who are the people going to follow? More than likely, right? They're going to follow Joan. So that's why his advisors were like, you know what? She's becoming way too powerful. All right. So in spring 1430, I know I'm going to kill this name, but I think it's Compiegne. Joan is defending the town and its people, but the thing is, she's captured by Bulgarians. Okay. Now the Bulgarians have her and they place her at ransom. Who wants her more, the English or the French? Now, again, the movie, The Messenger, depicts a really great scene where the French men, citizens, are trying to buy her. They're trying to pay the ransom for her. Um, but the king is kind of like, oh, the people want her? It's like, dude, yeah. So they take the money. Now, did they actually offer to pay the ransom? Me personally, I say no. But again, you should really watch that movie. Um, but the thing is, the English, again, biggest, baddest army, has plenty of wealth. They buy her and they get her. All right. Now that picture to your right that you see, that is a picture from her victory in Orleans. Okay. So yeah. All right. So now Joan goes on trial. Right. She's actually charged with 70 counts, including witchcraft, heresy, and then, remember, like I told you about, dressing up like a man. Now, the trial goes on and on and on. They try to nail her for any of those counts. But somehow Joan is avoiding them. She has an answer for everything. Remember, she's not educated. She's not. Never went to school. Doesn't learn how to read or write. Okay? She can't even write her own name. She writes it as an X. That's how they used to sign their name back then. You couldn't write your own name. You can do a cross, an X. That would signify you acknowledge what you were told and, that you agree. Um, so the trial goes on for about a year. And the whole time that this is going on, Charles VII does not negotiate her for her like at all. Doesn't even want her. Again, remember what the advisors told her. She's becoming too powerful. So I guess you could say he didn't want her because then people might be looking at her like hey, she should be the rightful ruler because God's talking to her. Remember we talked about divine right, you know. Um, that God picks a king or queen, well, God's talking to Joan. Hey, what more proof do you need? You know. So, under threat of death, basically, the English told her, "We're going to kill you if you don't confess, right? And that you deny that you were getting messages from God." So, fearful for her life, she agrees. She puts her X. Now, the movie I told you about, The Messenger, does a great job depicting this part. Several days later, somehow, miraculously, she's able to get a hold of some men's clothing, and they just magically appear in her cell. And when the people see this, they pronounce her to be burned to death. So on May 30th, 1431, at the age of 19 years old, Joan of Arc is burned at the stake. Um, Supposedly, her last words while they were burning her was lift the cross higher so she could see it, because of flames and smoke and everything. Um, I'm sorry, that's savage. That's just, I mean, pimpness right there. I mean, I'm sorry. You're burning burned to the stake, and your last words are basically raise the cross higher. I can't see it from the smoke and flames that you're burning me. That's got to give it up to her. All right. Now here's the thing. In 1920, Pope Benedict XV canonizes her as a saint. So to the Catholics, she is a saint right now. All right. So that's the end of this video. Um, be sure that your name is on the paper, and when you come into class, be sure you put your notes in the basket next to the door. Okay. If you have any questions, you know where my desk is at. You can talk to me, and that's it. Okay, so I hope you have a good day. Hope you learned something new.